Good morning, it's Joyful Hermit. I'm going to say a little bit more about asceticism. Maybe my getting bad during the night is a good reminder. But there's different things, that they used to do. Not eating certain foods, or basically starving, or beating themselves. They called that taking the discipline. I tried that for a while back in the early 2000s. And different things with eating, or I tried austerities, as I mentioned in the other video, through my clothing and simple hair, no makeup, no, and in a way it's, well, also I gave away all my clothes. I gave away the bulk of my possessions. Of course, then when my mother passed, I had some of her things that are family antiques that I felt, keep or use to pass on. I don't think my kids are interested. Maybe my nieces and nephews might want to have them shipped to them. Lovely things, but my kids are very angry or resentful, I think. I don't know why my suffering, or maybe thinking they'd been better off reared by their dad who had money, or seemed quote unquote normal to them with his sociopathic narcissism. But anyway, my spiritual Da, though, told me way back then, he says, you have more than enough suffering. You don't need to be doing anything else. God is providing for you what he wants you to suffer. And so in the night, I was reminded of that with my intestines becoming severe again. And I have this injection thing I could use, but you have to be able to grab a wad of flesh to inject into the flesh. You can't just inject, you perforate your intestines. But I get so distended, I can't. It's just like an overblown balloon. And I'm not heavy, but my stomach is just in excruciating pain. My intestines are all distended out. Um, just came upon me really fair. I could tell yesterday it was starting, but had hoped I could allay it. But anyway, that's what I wanted to say. But it can be good. I'd also had a dream back around 2002, 2003 it was, of I don't know, early 2003 or 2002 too. It was symbolic, but it was intense, that I needed to be ready to depart. And I didn't know if it meant I was dying within the year, it said within the year, or what. So I did get rid of most of my possessions. I had divided up things 3 ways with my kids, furnishings and anything that they may want, including some things my parents had already given me when they were downsizing, and gave to my sisters also. But I had the things they'd given me, and my one daughter was in the army at the time, and after her marriage, they came and took whatever she had, shipped it. So I included all her things that she was going to get when I would die. And she ended up just getting rid of, she had things for a while, but then she, I guess, developed this animosity and resentment. And her husband also, he was a case. He would just take things to the dump. a Victorian dresser that my great-grandmother had brought over from Germany on a steamer in the late 1800s, and the drawers didn't close right. Well, he could have glued them, could have clamped and glued them, but to make them tighter or something. But and then other things that were new furniture and teapot. My great aunts of my mother's this antique teapot, and she just got rid of things. Just didn't care. Didn't even get at least money for them. So who knows what goes on with people, but all of that is gone. Dumped. A bookcase that my grandfather built out of, I think, mahogany, some kind of lovely wood, and he built it himself. And I had refinished it. It was very lovely. And that went to the dump. And so you just don't know. And it was the whole thing was asceticism in a way of just dying to things, to feelings, to caring. They were all practical things to use. There was a hall tree that a great-great-grandfather built. He was a furniture maker as a hobby. He had been a banker and owned a lumber company in the Midwest when he came over from, I think, from England or something. But I'd even mentioned I saw that hall tree. It was lovely. And functional art that he created himself. And I said that I could really use that. At the time I could. On the island house, it didn't have a hall closet. I could hang a coat on it. And the daughter said no, that they had it in the garage. She says, we use it to put the dog leash on. But then later it was gone, just tossed out, dumped or something to the dump. So no kind of respect, but it's just a thing, But it was, I think it was, and that was a suffering of a way to think that your family member didn't even care to offer it to one of her cousins or something, somebody that, a family member had made. In fact, his name was, I don't think she realized, but she named her son the same name of this ancestor, this very talented furniture maker. So it just, things like, there's all kinds of sufferings and all kinds of ascetic behaviors that teach us to let go. And I had to let go of that. I had to let go of her doing that, of the resentment. I had to accept and suffer it, that sense of uncaring about something that was of not of any major street value, but of sensing, of sensitivity, and of maybe family history, you could call it, or something. So and more than that, I think it was of the resentment, that was a suffering of. So anyway, you'll find in your life the person who was interested in asceticism, a life of asceticism, that it doesn't really matter. It's more of the attitude and of the mind And the reason of detaching, it's to learn to detach. And like I think I've mentioned before, it's taken me many years to detach from my own children, then to accept that they are on their own. They, it took those words that God gave me last fall on Sunday mornings, just one word at a time. It always happened on a Sunday morning over a period of 6 weeks, 4 words. Skipped a couple of weeks there, a couple of Sundays. And I think God skipped a couple just so the impact would settle in more. Pray for them, pray for others, love others, forgive others. That definitely had an extra week or two to ponder. To forgive, not easy sometimes, because emotion and memory and understanding and knowledge gets involved. I get very dry when I get like this because it's like nothing's getting through, even liquid at a point, and hopefully I'm not going to get to the violent vomiting stage where it just starts to come up. Nothing's going that way. It'll just shove back up. Hopefully not. Sorry to be graphic, but this is part of asceticism, of handling suffering with calm and acceptance and a kind of serenity to it, uniting myself with Christ's sufferings. He probably had feelings like this when he was hanging there with all that gravity pulling on him, possibly even defecated from all that gravity. Publicly, maybe that happened to his body. Just very shameful, embarrassing for anyone, let alone for God, the Son of God, and someone so good and who had come to teach us how to live and how to love. And yet people hated him so much and resented him. So in our lives, that's part of our progression. And that's part of our ascetic life, of letting go, of accepting all the aspects that Jesus accepted. That includes rejection and betrayals. And also, though, he was not attached to, he did not allow himself to be attached. He was God, of course, but he was teaching us the focus is on God and love. God is love. God is pure love. And to focus on God. God above more than any other thing. And then love of others and love of ourselves as God loves us, though, as God loves others. That's the goal, is to love as God loves. So, but it's a good thing to actually do some things. Like when I gave away all my stuff, I was down to just having the things that my son was going to get. He was still in college, so I couldn't send his stuff to him. A sofa and a chair and this bed. I'd had a drawing, another person, and we marked coins. And I think they were 3 dimes or something. I'd done this with my mother to divide things and then group things according to value and type. And then this other person would draw, and we would go in a name order of each of my children and would draw and would say this object first, second, third, and then it would just go to whoever the coin that got drawn out that she pulled out of a bowl, not knowing whose, they were the same, all dimes, and had little dots of different color on them to represent each of my adult children. So everything got distributed without my having any value or favoritism on anything, or that could ever be considered that if it just turned out that somebody got something that another person thought, wow, that was really nice, or would have rather had that, then I let them know they could always ask the other person if they didn't want it. But I wasn't anticipating. Now, my son never wanted any of it. So I'm on the bed. This was my grandfather's wedding bed, grandfather and grandmother on my dad's side. There's a dresser that this great grandfather had built, beautiful dresser, walnut, solid, and all done by hand with tools back then, just hand tools, and grooved out, and keyholes in it, and little doodads on the sides. So, and then some other things, Um, so we come. It's good to go through a process, though, as if we're going to die, and to simplify like that. Now I've accumulated again things that my mother had given me upon her death, and that we divided. My sisters got their things too, and tools that I've had for working here, just odds and ends. My books, accumulated those, lots of things. But by doing that, it was a detachment exercise. And once you do it once, you can do it again easily. But I realized, well, I needed a few things to function. So it was okay that if the son had taken his things, that would have been fine. I would have just had the mattress on the floor, except, when I had the back surgery, that's why I couldn't be on the floor anymore. I couldn't get down like that because my back was fused halfway up, so I couldn't, for months I couldn't get down on the floor. So had to just sort of log roll into bed. Anyway, it's a good practice to do that, to do something tangible, to make sure you can, to have that feeling of letting go, because it can be a little stunning at first when you part with things that you've had or utilized for a long time. Just give things away. I gave away a lot of teapots. I had a teapot collection at one point. And the one daughter who got a couple of them, nice set, everything was gone that I'd given her. And she'd used it for a while, but all of a sudden, it was like she was clearing me out of her life totally. But maybe that was her asceticism. She obviously felt a need to do that. And at this point, I think she's sort of forcing herself to check in now and then. But the others don't, so I have to hand it to her. At least she is doing that, making herself, I suppose, in her mind, do the right thing, or stay on the good side, I guess, for when I die. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows for sure? But that's an asceticism too, is to accept. And I've looked at the bright side. There won't be grieving when I do die. I grieved for my parents more than I thought I would. and because they were older than me when they died, and were ill and suffering, and it's easier then if you have attachment still. But in my case, I think that's to the advantage with this situation of this, they're being basically estranged or cut off. The son somewhat is cut off. I don't think that they will go through that, which is good because it's an attachment when you grieve, and it takes time, and it's you've loved more than God then, which is human, and it's we are to love others and to um, have a love of ourselves enough to if we did not care at all about ourselves, it would be a dark existence, and unhealthy in a way, psychologically unhealthy. But to have a good detachment, I think Francis of Paola Paula was maybe a more extreme example. And in his time period, we don't know. Oftentimes, the stories that were told about people that end up in the books were exaggerated. He may not have been as extreme, but I think he was with his diet. I think he was very extreme. And we also hear cases of people who didn't need to eat at all, they just existed on a host. They say that of Catherine of Siena, but she actually died at 33, possibly from lack of nutrition. They're thinking now it might have also been some her she slowed down her eating and then stopped eating, and that really isn't recommended or necessary. God doesn't ask that of us. Um, they think she may have had some anorexia going on. Um, so, and just like with me though, I didn't feel well. Eating is a problem for me. So last spring and summer, I just didn't have appetite. And I still don't, but I've been making myself eat and healthy food, kidney diet food, which isn't all that varied or healthy, but um, it was healthier than what I had been eating. More variety, more, um, but obviously not today. But uh, this is plenty. It's more than enough for me, this suffering today. I'm telling you, I have taken the pain meds. I would try to inject myself, but I'm so tight, I can't even get skin to put the needle in. So I have to just wait and let God do with me what He will. So, but more on asceticism. God will bring us what we need. That the sufferings and the asceticism that we need. I've got to close off here. I can't cope. God bless, and we'll hopefully talk to you later. Might want to talk about Mary of Egypt, another hermit. God bless you.